I actually entered into this career by same way a lot of people do. I started with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development in undergrad. Felt a lot of passion and purpose in what we were doing as far as being able to add value in jobs and capital investment at the local level, and then went on to get my master's in planning, so urban planning. Came out then and have kind of vacillated and stuck mostly though to the idea of either site prep and planning for industrial development or site selection for companies that are looking to try to site at the local level.
Welcome to our Industrial Advisors podcast. You have Bill Condon, Matt McGregor, and we have Courtney Dunbar, who is the Director of Site Selection at Burns and McDonnell, joining us. So thank you. We're live at IMC here in Indianapolis. Just learned that you're going to be running the Indianapolis Marathon here in a couple weeks. So
yeah, that's
kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
So 22nd one, you said?
24th marathon,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Think back on that.
Very impressive.
No big deal. You know?
Yeah, it's all good.
So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the career that you're in and what you guys do.
Sure. So I actually entered into this career by same way a lot of people do. I started with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development in undergrad. Felt a lot of passion and purpose in what we were doing as far as being able to add value in jobs and capital investment at the local level, and then went on to get my master's in planning, so urban planning. Came out then and have kind of vacillated and stuck mostly though to the idea of either site prep and planning for industrial development or site selection for companies that are looking to try to site at the local level. Over the course of the career, it was more planning on the upfront, and now it's more site selection in what I do.
And for the listener, explain site selection. What goes into it? What are all the things that you have to look at to be a site selector?
Yeah, so site selection is an interesting industry in and of itself because I don't think it is a one-size-fits-all. It also is very much dependent on the client. In the instance of Burns McDonnell, and it probably pays to give a little bit of background on the company I'm with and how we approach. I believe we are the 7th largest engineering, architecture, construction, design, build company in the United States.
Wow.
Founded in 1898, headquartered in Kansas City. But when I am working with site selection, it's via our global facilities clients. I'm not a boutique site selector, and by and large, we are working with them all the way from the planning of the internal process of their facility to citing them to the ongoing long-term needs of the client anywhere really throughout the world. And so when I am dealing in site selection from my end, it's very much through a lens of diligence, and we're looking at, natural and built environment and factors, how they end up impacting the process that our company is or our client is trying to undertake. We do look at things such as logistics and workforce and tax, things such as incentives, the ability for us to be able to continue ongoing operations, ancillary services like rail, airports, port, and all of those come into factors of about 75 different characteristics that we would look at up front and then way back and forth to be able to come up with a critical factor base for them. What I do know in all my years of doing this, and I think I've been in the industry about 28 years, is that I've never had a circumstance where a client has wanted the exact same things, in the same priority. So it's worth making sure every time you're listening and you're looking at their full demand when you're trying to make those decisions.
And are you doing almost always manufacturing, or are you doing fulfillment and distribution as well?
Yeah, occasionally I'll get involved in distribution, but it's thinking through kind of how those deals come together. And by and large, we have a lot of, sale leaseback sort of scenarios, or whether you have leased property owned by a developer, and so a little less. More often I'm dealing with a manufacturing assembly type set. And there could be a 3PL or some sort of a warehousing distribution component to that. And sometimes we look at it as an alternative to bring it in versus, outsourcing. But by and large, it ends up being more manufacturers.
Are you seeing a lot more manufacturing really coming back, or is that a lot of talk?
No, there's a lot of discussion about them coming back, which discussion leads to pre-capital planning, which leads to prospective opportunities to site them, right? Where there's a catch right now is that many are not necessarily taking the leap to make a decision to go. So what I would call it is it's the alternative planning scenario stage that many of them are in, which means that it's highly frustrating across the board for a lot of people, the economic developer, the state level, all the way to the utility folks, us, and the client, because they're not sure if they're going to need to pull a trigger or not, and they're waiting on that and trying to prepare. So we're helping them to prepare behind it.
Mainly probably looking at pulling China manufacturing home?
It could be a lot of different spaces just based upon tariff implications, right?
Yep.
So it depends on how they do business.
For sure.
What we are finding, though, is it's not necessarily a scenario of uprooting and placing. It's more of a duplicative shoring scenario. So we might bring pieces and parts that are critical,
Right.
or for which there are raw product or attributes that cause them to be at a mass deficiency if they don't pull that onshore versus keeping it where they are at.
So as you're interacting with clients, you've worked with probably hundreds over the years. What are some of the things when your clients are doing site selection well that stand out? And then what are some of the mistakes that maybe some of them make throughout the process as well?
Oh, yes. Okay. So one of the things that we are a big proponent of, particularly within the Burns McDonnell space, is pre-capital planning. At this point in history, we can actually take, let's say it's a manufacturer, and let's say it's a foods manufacturer. We know exactly how long a conveyor belt needs to be within inches of accuracy in accordance with the type of production or the output that they're looking to try to accomplish. Going into it with the simplicity of, well, we just need a 200,000 square foot building that can deal with food manufacturing is not sufficient.
Right.
So it's trying to really hone in on what we believe the attributes are for built environment service. And again, everybody keeps talking about energy demand, right, on a lot of projects. It's not just data centers and AI. We're also running into circumstances where we have industries that are automating portions of their operations, hence increasing their energy demand. And so really eyeballing that from a lens of diligence is important so that way you're not seeking things that cannot be met, or you're overestimating or worse yet, underestimating what the demands will be. So a true process design that lays out the interior structure, then we can assume not only the need at the outset of operations, but also then what it looks like for expansion and growth. That is really important.
Is locating power starting to be a huge concern in your projects?
You know, it depends on the project. So it is a concern as it pertains to things such as data centers, AI. On the other hand, we do have a very robust, place in that. We deal a lot in that space. I don't personally deal a lot in that space, but as a company, we do a lot of it. They would be in the position where they're having to think that through very succinctly. And then they have to kind of separate the real from the not real too, in that space too, right? And you guys in the real estate side are seeing a lot of that speculation, et cetera. Now, take it back to my side. Yes, we have an uptick in energy demand, particularly with manufacturers, beyond where it was. Mm-hmm. But in most instances, I mean, you can see a really significant manufacturer and many, if not hundreds of jobs at under 25 megawatts power, well under. I mean, most of my clients are going to end up in that space being probably less than 10. So I think for everybody involved in your listenership, whether they be on the commercial real estate side or they are the economic development sort of organization and the prep, keep in mind that the average project is not the mega site project. The only projects are not mission critical or AI-based projects. The types of projects that we're having a really difficult time with in being able to field sites and ready facilities for are the 50 acre to say 250 acre style projects. Solvent, been around for many years, simply needs to be in a spot to increase production capacity. And we're not doing a very good job across the country of being able to effectively have inventory prepared for them.
And what trends, so like during COVID on the industrial real estate side, we saw a huge increase in use for anything in the home because everybody was home, right?
Yeah.
So dog food, pet food of all types, lawn furniture, barbecues, that was kind of the trend, everything at home. What are you seeing in trend of product placement, maybe of new deals, site selection? What are you seeing now?
Yeah, so a lot of the changes that are coming along with geopolitical, pressures, a lot of the quote unquote MAHA movement is changing some things as it pertains to food productions. We're starting to see some changes there. There are some volatility as it pertains to the ag market, so some changes as it pertains to obviously which products are going to have concentration over others. We are seeing some interest. We were talking about the onshoring, so there's some of our metals manufacturer, general manufacturing, those that have had some interdependence globally that you're starting to see some uptick in those projects. So I'd say just general manufacturing, certainly any defense-oriented contracting because there's an increase in concentration there. So currently I have a couple of aerospace-oriented projects that are tied to the defense industry by the company. So yeah, and then the discussion everybody's having, the mission critical piece. There's a lot of that.
Is there anything that from a collaboration standpoint that you or from a timing standpoint that you think is important? Like how early should companies be reaching out for you when they're looking at, the site selection process?
No, early.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's best, for example, we don't broker, right?
Yeah.
So we could come and work with somebody like you guys to end that deal very effectively and negotiate that deal. If they've done
We're
what
available.
I love that. Yes, we can always chat on that.
Yes,
I love
totally,
it.
yeah.
On the pre-capital planning piece, and I refer to that, it's really building the process, right? It's what are the actual inputs, labor demands, those skill sets, et cetera, that effectively match to what we expect over commissioning all the way through, say, a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year ramp. When we can build that out, we are then effectively understanding what kinds of services are necessary for energy, natural gas, water, wastewater, telecom. We also understanding our tolerances in natural environment. We understand our cluster, our up and down line demand and supply. That gives a better ecosystem of understanding as to how to negotiate the real estate, right? So if we just come in flat and say, oh, we need 200 acres of ground, you don't have a negotiating perspective without somebody building the business case as to how it will be used. Then we can look at you and say, all right, well, yes, this 200 acres is great, but what they're asking doesn't work for us because of this encumbrance, this issue, or this. And secondarily, we need things like a turn lane and signalization at the offsite that you may not know if we weren't looking at these things on behalf of the company. It helps to refine the permitting requirements. It helps to speed the timeline. So the long roundabout to this question you asked is companies need to build a pre-capital planning scenario prior to starting a search.
Yes. Yeah, because there's been many stories where you go down the road and spend a bunch of time and then it doesn't work because of one of the factors that maybe you mentioned, right? So doing that work early on and upfront is important.
Yeah, and I mean, even some of the things that can be problematic at the local level, we're seeing more limitations on certain types of use as a chemical, or they may have air permitting issues, or just an inability to host. And so understanding the offputs of the operation then allow you to know if you're barking up a tree that cannot occur.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of wasted time.
Yeah,
right?
so do it early.
Do it early, understand the process well.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate your expertise and
Absolutely.
and joining us here live at IMC.
Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you both.
Yeah.
Enjoy the conference.
Thanks, you too.